Hello, I'm Mercedes Stephenson, and this is the West Block, politics, perspectives, and players. Outraged and insulted, that's how veterans and family members of the fallen say they feel. Those who served and those who are the family members of those who paid the ultimate price in Afghanistan say they fear they are now being forgotten by the government as it unveiled a Kandahar battlefield memorial in secret. Joining me now here in studio are retired Captain Sean Bruyea, an advocate for veterans' rights, and retired Warrant Officer Ed Storey, who was the driving force behind the operation called Operation Keepsake, which helped bring home a key Afghan war memorial from Camp Mirage. Ed, you're a veteran and you were involved in bringing home one of these memorials. How did you feel when you saw what happened to the Kandahar Memorial and that it's been put behind closed doors where veterans and the public and families of the fallen can't access it?
I was extremely disappointed, let down. I look at it as a lost opportunity. That monument could have been, that memorial could have been placed in another location with similar security, and yet accessible to the public, and it could have been something that 50 years from now, if somebody wanted to have a parade or have a large group, they could actually go and visit the site.
When you see where it is, why is that so insulting for members of the fallen's families or for veterans like yourself when they're saying, look, we just wanted to have a small ceremony so that it would be dignified, it's all about security, it's all about protecting it? You don't believe those arguments?
No. I think there's more to it than those arguments that have been put forward. I'd hate to think that it was all about money, but perhaps it is. Either way, I mean, it's an insult to the families of the fallen that that memorial has been placed in a location where they can't get to it, and they never knew that it was going to be unveiled.
Do they feel they're being forgotten? I
think so. I can't speak for families of the fallen, but I'm sure that they feel forgotten. I know I do. It's like we're trying to, let's brush this period of history away and keep it hidden, and we'll move on to something else.
Almost like the government's ashamed.
Almost. Or dare I say, even the military.
Sean, you have dealt with government bureaucracy for many years. People look at this decision and the mind kind of boggles. How does a decision like this get made that the families of the fallen weren't even invited to attend, that veterans weren't invited to attend? How do you think this process unfolded?
We see a long tradition of the bureaucracy that has had, the civilian bureaucracy has long had a resentment towards serving members and veterans, that they feel that they're treated unfairly better than the bureaucrats would be in a given situation, without them really understanding what soldiers and family members of the soldiers go through. So we have this gaping disconnect. There's a bit of a culture of entitlement at the senior bureaucracy. They're quite disassociated from the country they serve, that they come up with their own rationale for decisions. So in this particular case, there's no doubt in my mind that this was a face-saving move. They wanted to avoid controversy, and as Ed said, they wanted to brush this under the rug, because there has been a long tradition of governments, both blue and red, that have basically seen that they can undersell the cost of war, whether it's financially, but also the cost of lives. And by hiding this memorial, Canada can then execute the next mission without thinking about what we paid in terms of lives and family sacrifice to send, our young men and women overseas into battle.
Whether this was bureaucratic incompetence or a deliberate decision to try to put the Afghan memorial where it could not be easily visited, explain to us as civilians that are watching the show and sitting here, what does it mean for those families and for those veterans to be able to go to a visible, accessible memorial?
For me, it's a sense of closure. When you can go to a memorial and you can see the names of the fallen and those that paid the ultimate sacrifice, it helps with closure. It goes, okay, Canada and Canadians appreciate what we do and the cost that's incurred in lives to maintain the lifestyle that we enjoy.
Sean, how do they fix this?
Well, yeah, Ed's absolutely right. And it's not just the soldiers that need to grieve. We had Canadians heavily invested in this war. I mean, they were highly supportive, whether it's, Red Shirt Fridays or whether it's the Highway of Heroes. So Canadians themselves that never served have a right to know what's going on. And I would say that that's also the answer of how to fix this. We need to broadly involve Canadians, and uncover this secrecy, whether it's a secrecy of a memorial or passing veterans legislation without debate, right behind us in the House of Parliament. We need to involve Canadians in how we treat our veterans, our serving members that are injured, and their families. And the only way to do that really is to have a broadly based commission of inquiry. So we learn the cost of war, how our veterans have been treated after they return home, how those families have been abandoned, and then that will give political license for the major change that needs to occur.
Ed, I know you must have been hearing from other veterans. What's the sense in the community of what veterans would like to see done here for the memorial to commemorate the war that they fought in?
From the emails that I've received, veterans want accessibility. And they want also to have all of the material that's associated with that memorial, letters from families and mementos that were left in the memorial. That was all saved. 2 boxes worth that were so emotional that the team that I was with, we couldn't catalog it. Try and read a mother's letter. It's overwhelming. So those 2 boxes are sitting here in Ottawa somewhere, never to be seen, and they could be incorporated with that memorial and give a better overall picture of the loss and how it affected families and colleagues and Canadians as a whole.
One of the suggestions has been possibly the War Museum. Is that a good potential place for it, Sean?
Well, I mean, if there are genuine concerns about security, then obviously that would address that problem. I mean, ultimately, we're talking about technical barriers to honoring the ultimate sacrifice. No barrier that's technical should usurp the need to honor that sacrifice and to allow a nation to openly grieve. Because when a nation can't grieve, then the path forward becomes distorted, that we make bad decisions going forward. And when soldiers can't grieve, then the cost is just immeasurable in terms of they start blaming themselves. If government, does not believe that the right thing to do is to open up this memorial, then how do soldiers deal with all that grief? It's hard for soldiers to blame government. So what they end up doing is blaming themselves, and that turns into addictions, dysfunctional behavior, and ultimately it turns into suicide.
Well, and you have a tremendous number of medals there, Ed, for your service. How does it affect you?
Just the fact that all of the work I put into helping bring that memorial back, and the fact that I'm not welcome to go and see it is very disappointing.
Sean, the overall relationship between veterans and this government has been strained. What do you see as the major flashpoints right now?
So right now, I mean, we had that lump sum that replaced lifelong pensions. This government was brought in, into power in large part with veterans' support that believed that the government was going to replace that lump sum with a real lifelong pension that existed before. All they did was convert that lump sum into an annuity, and then just did basically a marketing change and heavily pushed, basically the new and improved, lump sum program. So this has become, veterans are seeing the effect now. April 1st it came into effect. Soldiers are seeing the results of this improvement, which is, a check for $10 or $20 extra a month for those that were lucky enough to get extra money. Unfortunately, the soldiers going forward that apply after April 1st, especially the most disabled, will be receiving less than their counterparts pre-April 1st, 2019. And this will only get worse, and it'll be a problem for whatever government forms after the next election.
Well, we have to wrap it up there, but thank you both very much for your service and for your time today. I know it's not an easy thing to talk about.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mercedes.
Shortly after that discussion, the Chief of the Defence Staff issued an extensive apology and said that all veterans and family members of the fallen will be able to visit the memorial and public tours will be scheduled. That's all the time we have for today. Please be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm Mercedes Stephenson for the West Block.